This video is entitled The Toxicity of a Broken Love for a Reason. I can clearly see what's going on these days with this hookup culture, and apps for one night stands, all that online dating, sending nude selfies. It's just off the wall crazy, man. All these little girls that they don't even know what love is. They think these toxic guys with neck tattoos and all that garbage, that's love, the way they're treated like garbage. That's not love. That's toxicity. That's abuse. That's why you see all these young girls dressing with these tight clothes on, man, like spandex. Because that's all that they can do to attract these guys, because these guys have nothing to offer. There's no substance there. I'm not saying every man's like this. I'm not lumping everybody into the same gradation. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. But you see this clearly. Like if you go into a gym or if you go to Walmart, you see all these young women with these super tight pants on, like spandex or whatever. I don't know what material it's made out of. If it's lycra or spandex or some polyester stuff, it's like skin tight. It looks almost like it's painted on because they're looking to attract attention, because they don't have self-love. Somewhere along the lines, they probably had issues with their father or the mother or whatever caused these types of things. And this goes both ways, by the way. It isn't just women. But when it comes to sex, for women, a woman's actions are governed by their feelings and emotions. For a man, his actions are governed by impulses and instincts. So when a woman is having sex with a man, it isn't the same dynamic. It has been said that when a woman is having intercourse, she's falling in love. A guy doesn't see it like that. It's just a sexual gratification, and then he's done. That's it. So it's two totally different animals that we're dealing with here. So I'm only going by what I'm seeing, and I'm not lumping everybody to the same gradation, and I'm certainly not judging anybody. I'm just assessing, because you can never judge anyone. What you can do is make an honest assessment of the quality, content, and character of an individual's energies, frequencies, and vibrations in determining whether or not you consciously choose to connect with their energy or not. But you can also assess people and their energies, and also how they're dressed. If you see a young female dressed like that, she's obviously looking to garner attention somewhere, because she doesn't have self-love. She doesn't value herself high enough to say, I don't have to dress like this. Because you're only going to get a certain type of character that's going to want to look at that stuff. And the guys that you're going to attract, or the women that you're going to attract, are going to be of that caliber or lower. It's always just superficial nonsense. There's no substance there. These little girls are wearing these shorts that are like riding right up their butt crack. It's the bathing suits nowadays. It doesn't leave anything to the imagination anymore. That's because this is a superficial society. These little kids think that love is being treated like a piece of garbage by somebody who looks good. Just because they're good looking doesn't mean they're a good person. Because some of the most beautiful faces, aesthetically, have some of the ugliest souls and the coldest hearts. And I can clearly see this constantly. You see all these females dressed in this super tight clothes, and they're going to attract only a specific type of attention. And when they get it, they're not prepared to handle it, because it's just more of the same garbage. And the same with guys with the tattoos and all that stuff. It's the same. It's the same paradigm. You're only going to gravitate towards the same, whatever vibrational field you're in. That's why they say bad boys always hook up with bad girls. One night stands, parties, bars, clubs, sleeping with married people. Sometimes they get pregnant and they have an abortion. This type of stuff. That's all you're going to be encountering, because that's the kind of vibration you're putting out. You can clearly see that there's no self-respect, no self-worth, or self-love, especially when you're advertising your curvatures, And I'm not saying you shouldn't, showcase your body, because if you have a beautiful body, everybody's beautiful. But if you feel that yours is amazing, then do what you want. This video isn't for you. I'm just saying these little kids, young women, even the older women do it, because they don't feel like they have any value. They don't have any self-worth, so they feel the only way that they can attract attention or a mate is by dressing like this. Because they feel that they don't have anything to offer other than the physical body. So that's what's going to bring them in. But if that is what is attracting them, then what do you have after that? Just more of the same. That's why these young girls just keep attracting these types of guys, and they wonder why their life is never changing. Because they're not changing. Like I said, you have an unlimited transformative potential energy. It isn't just to manifest objects or spiritual nature. It's everything. It's an all-encompassing power. And when you have these little kids who are told through feminism that they can do the things that a guy can do, and it's going to be okay, that's what messes up their head. Feminism, in its initial stages, back in the 60s and 70s, was a very good thing. Equal rights for women, absolutely. Because they were denied suffrage. Women were denied the right to vote at the turn of the last century, or the one before that. Suffrage is voting or the right to vote. And just like equal rights for everybody, because we're all equal in the eyes of God. It's just that when you come here, it's everything subdivided. It's all classes and races, and you know how they break people down and make them weak. It's divide and conquer. So, I'm just going by what I'm assessing. When I go to Walmart, I see them constantly. All these young females wearing spandex pants, shopping for bread and milk. You clearly see there's an agenda going on here, that they have an ulterior motive, that they want to attract attention that they're not getting in their own house. But they don't realize it. They should be giving it to themselves. That's self-love. I don't have to paint my clothes on in order to get attention from people, to validate me. I don't seek validation from external sources for a reason, because it's a waste of time, and I've already validated myself. Not 1 ounce of your self-worth is dependent upon anyone's acceptance of you. That's the power of self-love. Best relationship you could ever be in is one with yourself. Straight truth. So these young girls obviously have a lot of broken issues. I was told once where a woman's heart was a glass rose, that once it's shattered, it can never be put back together the same. But it's not intended to, because on earth, our hearts are broken for a reason. Because in heaven, they're made whole again. And not heaven up here, because there's no such thing. That's fictitious biblical heaven. Doesn't exist. It's a fantasy. The heaven that I refer to is in here. But you could see these kids, they're so lost. So lost. Addressing them as pronouns, and they think love is toxicity and abuse. The more toxic these guys are, the more they think that they love them. This is how so upside down, backwards, and insane this whole society is becoming. It's like a pedestrian mentality gone awry. It's sad. It really is sad. I just go by what I see. You can clearly see they wear these skin-tight pants, ultra revealing, leaving nothing to the imagination. You can clearly see that they don't have any respect or self-love or nothing. Absolutely not. Not taking into consideration, of course, if somebody goes to the gym and they want to wear that clothes and then they just want to go shopping. I'm not referring to that. But even the crazy dynamic of what's going on now about these females that go into the gym with these painted on clothing, the painted on pants, and they're bending over and doing all these sexually provocative moves. And of course, you're going to arouse these guys. And then they tell these guys you're a pervert. And then they start complaining to the management that these guys are looking at them. You see how insane this is getting? It's just off the wall. It's crazy. If you don't want somebody to look at you, then dress in sweat clothes and baggy pants and such like that. But if you dress like that, that's how you're going to get treated. I mean, a famous stand-up comedian once said, if you dress like a hooker, they're going to think you're a hooker. And then you can't come off like how dare you assume just because I'm dressed as such. Well, that's the vibe you're putting out. And it's obviously that way for a reason. Some people like to play head games. So, that's also in there too. And a lot of people are just basically out of their mind. But the premise of this video is to just reinforce the fact of how important self-love is. It doesn't really have anything to do with the clothing you're wearing as much as how much respect are you showing to yourself? How much do you value yourself? How much worth are you giving yourself? Then when you go outside and you mingle and mix around with society and other people and you're dressing in skin-tight clothing, that's clearly a correlation between how you feel about yourself and the indicative fact of the vibration you're connected with, and that's what you're going to activate. And that's the only crowd you're going to see. Especially these little girls. They don't even know what love is. Their idea of love is toxicity and abuse. It's fractured. It's an upside down, backward, inverted mentality. And this is what they're being taught. And that's why they're exposed to sexually explicit materials at such a young age. And that's why they're putting all of the curriculum in the schools as far as pedophilia and giving condoms to third graders. This is all a part of something else that you don't understand. But what I'm trying to say is that when you see anybody dressing like this, they're clearly sending out a message. I want your attention. Look at me. Because men, for the most part, they don't really need attention. They're pretty simple creatures, man. It's like to say 100 ways to please your man. That list is probably 2 or 3 things long, if that. It's not too hard, most men. I'm not on that list because I don't operate like that. I'm talking about your general average guy, into sports, hanging out with his friends, that kind of stuff. I'm not that guy. And I'm not judging anybody for the clothes you're wearing. I'm just saying what I'm seeing. And you can clearly see what's going on. I see it all the time. And people have the right to wear what they want. But when you wear skin-tight stuff, you're going to attract a specific type of attention. And then when that attention makes you upset or, uncomfortable, you brought it on yourself. Because everything is a specific vibrational environment. And there are infinite vibrational environments. Whatever you activate, you become a part of. And that's what you assimilate. And that's what you integrate yourself in. And that's what you occupy. Consider it your own little world for however long you want to keep that energy going. That's why I say your perceptive lens is allowing you to see inside that vibrational environment, and your opinion is the voice of that perception. So in closing, I'm just saying that, everything means something when it comes to how you present yourself. Not that I don't care what people think, because they can't even think for themselves. What I'm saying is that how you dress is indicative of what is going on inside you. How you feel maybe unconsciously about yourself or whatnot. So if people, particularly young girls dressing like this, they're only going to get one type of attention. And it's not a good attention. It's a very unhealthy one. Because these guys are not going to respect these chicks. It's not going to work. It never has, it never will. They're going to see you for one thing and one thing only. And that is not marriage material, long term. And unfortunately, these girls wind up with seriously broken hearts when these guys are done with them, what they need them for. And it's common, happens all the time, unfortunately. And that broken heart is what causes these young girls to have their heart shut down, and they can't receive divine transmissions to help them. And the same thing happens with young boys too. They want to fit in because they've been trained to assimilate. That's what your septic social circles are really all about, ladies and gentlemen. They want to fit in. They have not been motivated to be individuals. It doesn't work for that grind that they're in. The universe wants you to be an individual. This place doesn't. That's why they go after the youngest minds, because they're the most susceptible and the most vulnerable, highly impressionable. Children are a product of their environment. So when they see other kids doing something, naturally they have to follow. And when they're all dressing with super tight clothing, 8, 9, 10 years old, even to their teens and 20s, it's not sending out a good message. Because what they're saying is what you see is what you get. And that's the end of the line. And that's really the truth. Because if you don't have anything to offer yourself, what are you going to offer the outside world? If it's skin-tight clothing and TNA, that's the extent of what you have to offer the world. Absolutely. Because that's the only way to attract that type of character. Because intelligence isn't bringing them in. Substance isn't bringing them in. Quality isn't bringing them in. It's just a peep show. And that's catering to the primitive side of these guys. And vice versa. And it's not a good place to be. Not at all.